Well, hey there, and welcome to the CPI show. CPI show number 6. Happy Friday. Hope your week has been well. Super pumped for this one today. Always a good time of the month when it's the CPI time. And I'm going to waste not a moment right now, and I'm going to bring on the main man himself, Mr. Olek. How are you,
Hey
sir?
guys, hey guys, happy just to go into the weekend with you again.
Yeah, indeed. How's
Really
your month been, Olek?
challenging as always in the industry. A lot of good CPIs, a lot of bad CPIs.
Are you finding the Are you finding that there's not? It's completely anecdotal here, and I'm just going to spring it on you, just because. Are you finding There's been a slowdown of releases of games or prototypes. Is that something
Yeah,
you would
it
say?
has been. Also, I wouldn't say that there is less low CPIs, but there is more product work that needs to be done. And actually, the time to release the game is quite longer than it used to be. I don't see anyone releasing the game in 3 sprints like it used to be. The approach of very very fast sprints. Now we are a bit more into advanced core loops and advanced products, so it really takes time. I think this is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, I only ask because I keep an eye on the markets all day to try and share all the new games coming out, and I'm just seeing there. Like I said, it's completely anecdotal, but it does seem like there's not as many games hitting the stores. There's definitely a slower period. I think it slows down a little bit in the summer because obviously there's like holidays and things like that. There is life that
Yeah.
goes on outside of games, but yeah, I'm definitely seeing a bit of a slowdown in releases. Just want to say hello to everybody in the chat there. What's up? Hope you're doing well. Glad you can be with us today. We are going to be talking. Well, I think we should just jump straight into it. We are going to have your 5 seconds of fame. So we're going to kick things off, and I'm just going to start right now. So, like I said, 5 seconds of fame today. Um, it's an interesting one, and this is really to get you in the mode of thinking about your CPI videos and how you can improve. And that's what the CPI show is here for. Um, and I think we should just jump straight in, and I'm going to crack on. So we've got some slides for you today. And I want to start off with a little bit of context and show you a bit of data to show exactly how to frame the conversation with us today. What is up there, Elbow? Good to see you. Hello, Sparky. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so according to online research, our attention span has remarkably decreased in just 15 years. So we see here in 2000, the average attention span of a human was 12 seconds. And then when we get to 2015, 15 years later, the average attention span was 8.25 seconds. And to put that into context, we can see here that the average attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. But we saw this report come out quite some time ago now. And it turns out that this was completely fake. So if you were like me, we were grown up. You must have heard the phrase, oh, well, I'm hoping you've heard the phrase, that you got a memory of a goldfish. And before I read this, I always thought it was like 3 seconds. So there's not a single shred of evidence to prove that last statistic, but it was all over the internet. There was publications like Time Magazine, New York Times, USA Today, Telegraph, Guardian, all the real big sort of juicy publications picked it up. But the fact is, it wasn't a fact at all, and it was made up or invented by a website called Statistic Brain. And it was based on a research from, allegedly cited from some research from Microsoft, Microsoft Canada that did back in 2015. And they surveyed or did some sort of research with about 112 Canadians on various things, and their report actually never mentioned anything to do with that magic 8 second number. So it's all an urban myth. And it doesn't mention goldfish at all in the Microsoft report. So to frame this up, the real thing is here, whilst it was fake and all the rest of it, it does hold some truth in a roundabout way. And I do feel that sort of the fish comparison is a good one, even though it's completely false. And it turns out it's not the attention span that's the problem. It's just the infinite number of choices that we have nowadays. And I think we can all relate to that, of the 100 million different distractions there is, which essentially pulls on our attention and pulls us away from other things. There's always something else. My my Canadian goldfish has a very poor memory, says Colette. Well, yeah, there you go. In fact, it's just a myth, Colette. So here we go. The science. Our attention isn't diminishing, it's becoming more demanding. It processes information increasingly intensely and is always hungry for more. So to pull this together from what we're talking about with the CPI videos, we know now that essentially it's dopamine rushes that we're all after, and everybody is prying for our attention. Everybody wants us to be interested in them, and that's where marketeers and everybody has such a struggle of getting people's attention. It's the new currency, I think you could say. So essentially we need to be triggering dopamine hits within our CPI videos, and this will get the attention on us. Why should someone stop doing what they're doing and look at the thing that we've created? And I think this is really important to hammer home. What is it what are you gonna do in your video that's gonna grab that attention? And this is where the 5 seconds of fame comes into. So, grabbing people's attention. Facebook, there was a company called Fours Mars, who are a statistic company, a research company, and they did some tests for Facebook. And it turns out that you've got a quarter of a second to get someone's literally a split second attention on the mobile feed. And on desktop, it works about something like 1.7 seconds for them to be engaged. And that drops a little bit while you're on the desktop. But remember, people are on Facebook for different reasons. They're there for family and friends and da-da-da-da-da. So when you're looking to create your videos on there, you're actually typically disturbing them from the thing that they were already on there for. Does that make sense? Let me know in the chat if this is making sense. So we know we've got a very short amount of time to make that impact, because you're drawing them away from the purpose that they were pretty much on Facebook for. Now, when it comes to YouTube, I thought this was a really interesting one. So in June 2016, and we all know these on YouTube, that you load up a video on YouTube and you get the YouTube what do they call it? True View. That's hard to say. So you get the True View video, which is you can skip this advert in 5 seconds. So remember that 5 seconds that you can skip it. So that basically gives the advertisers 5 seconds to get your attention, because your hand typically goes like that to skip straight away. As soon as you see the advert, you're sort of programmed, even though you don't realize, to go to that skip button before you even see what content is before you. But saying that, millions and millions of views those videos get. They are watched every day when people don't skip. So what are those people doing who are creating those adverts that create the ones? Obviously they're targeted towards you from their algorithmic stuff, but what are they doing in those adverts for you not to hit the skip button? And that's why savvy marketers know that they got this 5 seconds to get your attention. Now, TikTok obviously is a very different one. It's a very different experience. The whole thing is based around the feed, and you're just flicking and just going through the content like a content beast. But 63% of all TikTok ads have their main campaign message in the first 3 seconds of the video. So they are hitting you with the main core of that video. 63%, the most successful ones, do this. TikTok Business says the highest click-through rate, or the CTR, is also within the first 3 seconds. So we've got TikTok, we've got YouTube, and we've got Facebook all saying within the 1 to 5 seconds is the most crucial part of your video. And this is what I want you to take away and be really burned in your brain today, that how important your first impressions count when it comes to your CPI videos. The stats prove it. We know it's a myth about the goldfish now, which is disappointing, but the science is not there. But what it does mean is that the 5 second rule is a real thing, and we need to be really conscious about it to make more impact videos. So, as I just mentioned, it's not an exact science, but by capturing attention, creating an emotion, doing some short storytelling, the first 5 seconds is going to be the most important part of your CPI video. And this is what you need to start thinking about when you're creating your game and your game moments. Is like, that bit, that could be the start of my video. That's how I'm going to present my vision of my game to the world. And if you start working backwards and re-engineering your videos as you're making your game, it will be a lot easier when it comes to doing your videos. Now, there's a thing called the primacy effect, and it consists of about 6 or 7 different aspects. But I think for us, these are the most important ones that we need to concentrate on. So these are visual and auditory cues. We have an emotional impact and your game proposition. And if you remember on the last slide, it said value proposition or your product messaging, and that rings the same effect as your game proposition. So how are you going to grab them? How are you going to pull on their emotions? And what's the purpose of your game? You hear this time and time again. It needs to be easy to understand and relatable. It's the same thing, but it's super, super important. So let's take a look at the first one here for visual and auditory. You can see we've got ZRaft, and this is basically combining visuals and also sound effects, but it's doing a real good job of putting the game into context and covering a lot of the storytelling, audible cues, and the game proposition. So I think this one's a kind of a all hit a whammy. This had 42 cents CPI, this one, from going back a little bit now, but you can see there it really is attention grabbing. The helicopter crashes, the dudes are running away, and then you get into the game. But if you count on these are 5-second clips that I put on here. So that is the first bit that the people will see. Now, when we're talking about Facebook, the auditory cues, are a little bit different because by default the video sound will be turned off, but it doesn't mean you need to ignore the sound. I would be heading towards putting the sound on always anyway. But I think this is one of the really successful attention-grabbing video with the helicopter crashing. We've even got the text to run there, and then it really leads you into the game. Emotional impact. This one's a little bit funky. This is Get Lucky. Had a CPI of 20 cents a little while ago now, it has to be said, but you can see there when the clip starts from the beginning, we see the hunk on the bed there, and it does a good pull on the emotions that you're heading towards, but getting hooked up with the guy at the end. It pulls you back from the end of the level to the beginning of the level, which really explains the story of the game. And you have to sort of imagine here that when we say story, you know, we don't, again, we're not looking to write War and Peace here. It's just that indication of what the game is and how it shows you the rules in a super simple form that you're now walking towards the guy at the end. So it's getting that story mode in there. It's giving you the rules of the game. It's setting the context, and it also established that connection with the audience. Perhaps not you, but certainly an audience who kind of digs this sort of game. And lastly, the game prop. And I love this one. It's so funny. It's so genius from our creative team here. Probably one of my favourite ones of all of it. And it's pretty hilarious. But what I want to do here, and I'm just going to wait until it finishes, but I want to be, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at that. Bang on. So it's really, really smart what the creative team done. It really sets it up to give you that impact of the shock value. It's super curious as he's laying an egg. And it kind of just gives a teaser. But after that 5, where it's piqued your interest, you're into the runner game, and it looks you understand the game super thoroughly from that. And I think this game proposition was really great. And this one had a CPI of 33 cents, which is really cool indeed. So I hope all that kind of makes sense. And I want to make sure that you really start thinking about how important it is that this impact of your first 5 seconds is just so important to get it right, to give you the most chance of doing well with your CPI videos. I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat. Research has been done on. Yeah, Chris, if you go back, that's exactly how I started off today. And I've done this. That's actually been disproved, I'm afraid. It's an urban myth, but go back and you'll see that I disproved that for you. Okay, so I think I've talked enough. Let me know if there's any questions. Keep them coming in the chat. What I'm going to do is, now I've set the scene, I'm going to get the main man once again back, and he's going to talk through some real life examples for you and show you some. He's going to tell you everything you need to know about that. So, Oleg, I'm going to hand it over to you, dude, and I'm going to look forward to these ones as well. What?
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Kevin, for your part. And actually, I mean, I want you guys to actually understand that there is a conversation been going on that you should always touch your creative from the core gameplay, and that's the what you actually have in the game. That's what you should have exactly on the first seconds of creative, the most attractive part of it. It's usually true, but actually, as we will see further through this presentation, there are some cases where having an intro, whatever type of intro you will see, there are so many different types that we tried, usually can be at least beneficial for your game. And here is the runner actually that we had in soft launch in Homa, and we struggled on CPI initially. 44 cents was quite high for runners. So with the developer, we tried a few things how to reduce it. Actually, it was the learning from Get Lucky, the video that Kevin showed you just before. You know, that man on the bed. When you see that something like that on your feed, actually, you are, I mean, you are hooked. You know, you're like, okay, what's that man on the bed is doing? And then that cinematic camera going back, something really you would want to take a look at. This is Android US. And that's exactly the learning we took from Get Lucky. It was like, okay, let's show the end of the track. And in this case, it's actually the heads which are waiting for you at the end. And then the track going, the camera flying back to you. And then the runner starts. Two exactly the same creatives, which actually had a minus 20 cents reduction in CPI just thanks to the small change, actually, a camera flying back and showing you the end of the level. It doesn't work on every runner, though. I mean, we had opposite cases where we tried this type of intro and they didn't bring any results, or CPI was even higher. But I think it's something that you could try if it helps actually explain the context of the runner, and also if you have something that can hook a user. I think Man on a Bed, for me, it's still one of the best intros I can recall, like, actually from a runner. If you move to the next one, there are frequently what you can see in your interstitial ads when you play games. It's frequently a 2D intros where they show either the choice or the selection of the sides, or you show intros of a level. This actually doesn't work that well on Facebook if we talk about it, because on feed when you scroll through it, you're not obliged to stay watching what's happening on the creative, but on fun, which is also part of the feed, so on the audience network, actually, when you're obliged to watch for first 5 seconds of the video, actually it frequently works quite well. Frequently, it gives also the context here on the crowd defense. Actually a fake intro, because you can't play as a riot. If you play the game, you can't play the protester. Actually, you can only play the police. But this type of intro, immediately adds kind of depth, even though it's fake, but it adds the depth on the marketability. So people think that okay, I'm gonna be able to play as a protester and the police here, and then they want maybe to make alternative choice to this creative, so not police but the writer, and see how it is in the real gameplay. And then similar things around the Aquarium Land and Car Evolution examples. As these are both the best creative of these games currently, and we see that on Aquarium Land immediately this intro gives you examples of animals you will have in the game, makes you a bit excited. I think maybe we should have put even more something more crazy, and the same in Card Evolution shows you basically progression, where you would go, what kind of Pokemons or cards you will have in this game, animals, and by choosing one, it's also I think it provokes the feeling of missing out of the user watching that, because he thinks, okay, I want to make a different choice and see how it is actually in the real gameplay. If you move to the next one. These are actually kind of the examples of intros which are related to the one that Kevin showed of Monster Egg one, with the Huggy Wuggy Lion and Egg. These are two different ones, but also from the same game, which didn't work that well, but the creative still had some good scale. And I think here it's like the continuation, when the intro continues into the gameplay. So in this example, you see the dinosaurs throwing a big egg into you that then continues rolling on the track and collecting the thing. I think this is also one of the examples when the gameplay is perfectly, so the obviously it's done in 2D through rendering, but it's not a gameplay, not even in Unity, this type of intro. But it helps you actually hook the player with something which is fully related to the gameplay. I don't think if we just cut this first 5 seconds of dragon throwing an egg and we put it in Aquarium Land, it wouldn't make any sense, and actually it wouldn't work. So this is something that something custom that is possibly could be tried on your game if it's related to the core gameplay. But usually, again, these creatives, they couldn't beat the one of Huggy Wuggy, given the Huggy Wuggy line, the egg, given how well it hooked the users. But still, it was done before, and they were actually the best creatives before the Huggy Wuggy one that arrived. Okay, if you move to the next one. This is actually related for you guys, because this is something you could easily do in one of your games, in a puzzle game, whatever. Fight for America, I think it's a great example how you show the progression. And this is actually the screenshot from Unity. You can even see like the light red arrow, which actually light in Unity camera, and just a small zoom out to see the full picture, to see that the map is actually big. You would be able to progress through the whole America instead of starting just from a small state, actually, even with the voiceover, explaining the gameplay, or with any sounds explaining the gameplay, actually showing the users from above how big is the map, and it makes immediately feel that it's a big game, and they're gonna be able to play it long, and they know towards what they progress. This is something actually is done frequently in puzzles as well. When you even when you remember parking jump creatives, you have a huge map, and then you actually a huge map of parked cars, and then you actually play just with the small one, trying to finish the huge level. So I totally advise you, if you have something like where you can show the progression in that way, that is done in Fight for America, with the intro zooming in, then actually in the gameplay, it might work very well. And we had many cases where it did. It also adds storytelling, which is a bit the case for Police Station here, the idle arcade game with 38 cents Android US again. And here it's again, to explain better what's going to be happening in the game, what the game is about, would be a bit difficult, through the colors, which are orange for prisoners and blue stickman for police guy, would be a bit hard just through the color code to explain to the player what the game is about and how to what's the topic of the game and the car loop. And I think this intro, it adds a bit more storytelling, the same thing which was on the raft showed by Kevin, and also explains the gameplay, because you see the prisoners going with their hands behind their backs and the police hat on the guy, and then you start actually into the gameplay. Move to if you move. This is also a very very good example of how you can combine actually two intros, and with the first one and and then actually gameplay related one. So 2D intro in this case, exactly the same specific purpose as I said. Show the player what type of animals you will have in the game. So show that there is a variety of things in your game, and secondly, create the fear of missing out, because here we chose a raptor, and you see immediately you have this raptor looking into the camera, but the same type of dinosaur you choose in your intro looking into your camera and then continuing the gameplay with. And there are some people who would want to see, okay, how is this the other dino would look, this one looks cute, and you create this fear of missing out, for which user will download the game and see actually how does it look in real game. And the second actually, but the second intro here is a small dino looking into the camera, blinking an eye. I think it's a small feature because actually it didn't perform that well without these two without the 2D intro. I mean, here it's like not fully side by side comparison because the creators were not tested at the same time, so there is just a bit of time factor. But this type of intro was able to reduce the CPI for Juno.io as well. Okay, and very very frequently you see also upgrades. Upgrades is something that I think many of you tried on your creatives, actually showing the upgrades that serves to show the progression of the game. There is a frequent scenario where you start doing something and then you fail and then you upgrade and then you win. Here you don't fail, actually you immediately start your creative with upgrading the drill, and then you have this very very impressive effect of it's this creative is cut, but actually then you have a very very impressive effect of drilling the ground with a lot of satisfying particles. I think here that's why it's worked. It's not only because we showed the transformation, which is not that impressive to be honest. I mean, visually wise, now I think we could have done something much more better. But showing this progression and also this very very satisfying effect of um, drilling afterwards that comes afterwards. I think that's what makes the user download the game and what makes actually him to be hooked on this type of intro. And then we have a second example, not the same, out of different scope, but this is an intro that helps you understand the gameplay better. Because I imagine if you just started the creative with the guy running on the ground and getting the ladders, I mean, nobody would. I mean, people would think it's a second bridge race because it does look like a second bridge race without the topic and without the intro where you see that wall about Trump wall, and then you go back and then start to understand. Okay, it's actually ladder, and so my goal is to get through the wall. This is I think it's a very very good intro where it completely helps you understand the gameplay and actually show how is this game different from the rest of the market. So bridge racing in our case. Casual, one of the runners we did a while ago. I think it's a great example, even though didn't see frequently the creators winning where you show actually the shop. But in this game, it was a winning creative. It was the best creative we had for the game, where you start with again with the small dinosaur, and then there is this funny comedic aspect of putting a hat on it, and then actually the dinosaur he continues running with the hat. So here I don't think that, from my personal opinion, I don't think that the reason it worked is because you show the depth of a shop, because there's not much depth to the gameplay that shop adds. I think it's more comical. I think it's more bit the same that we saw with Dino.io, where the Dino, he actually blinked into your camera and continued running forward. Here it's again a cute little dino looking into your camera, and then you put a small hat on it, and then you continue running with it. So for me, this one is more comical rather than showing really the depth of the gameplay through the shop. And the Ammo Fever, this is actually a very good example, and I want to stress you that camera traveling usually works well in the creatives. Now I just remembered another example I might send you guys later, where we managed to reduce the CPI again by 20 cents just by showing the camera traveling on the creative. So it was a car game actually, and the camera was top view. And what we did was adding the camera traveling from the showing the car and then moving backwards and then getting into the top view. Helped us reduce the CPI a lot. And usually having a static creative is not that interesting if you could do something with a cine machine, with the small travels like that, which actually look organic into your gameplay. So I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to have camera shaking or camera jumping here and there, right, left all the time. But if you can do something like that, small overview of the map, as in Fight for America, or you can do zoom into an enemy and then moving a bit, but to the actual gameplay, to your actual character, something that also helps with storytelling and also looks good because it looks more fresh for me. It looks more fresh. It looks um, more qualitative, let's say, even for this type of game, rather than if we just started this creative. Imagine you cut this first 5 seconds and you start this creative with a clicker gameplay. I think it immediately removes all the, I mean, majority of the satisfaction from the gameplay, majority of the coolness, let's say. Let's move. And this is a funny one because this is something we do in live more. So when the game goes to live, I don't think this is not something you guys need to do, but it's cool to know that you can also hook people with something that goes into the media. So I think all of you saw the TikTok videos, best no Wi-Fi game or best movie or na. And then what we actually did is, you cut this part of best no Wi-Fi game and you just put it on your best creative. And usually it works well because people, but they're used to this type of videos when they're scrolling the feed. So at least their attention is going to be caught for a few seconds to see what happens next. When I think mobile game ads, they're a bit more annoying for the people than actually the videos, the real life videos, because that's what they come for when they scroll through the feed. Friends news and some funny videos. So if you can also hook the attention for just 1 or 2 seconds with this type of funny best number five game. They want to see, okay, what's that, and then you actually promote them their game, which is just working quite well. I mean, right now, I think all of you saw the best Nova 5 game, and then thousands of them say games does it, we do it, everybody does it. And it's actually the last slide, which is a bit more advanced creatives that I wanted to show you. It's the same thing. It's the storytelling on the left side. You see actually that it's the Jack Sparrow who is looking into the on America and then actually arriving to it and starts fighting. So it's a bit more storytelling that gets into the real gameplay. I think it's not that powerful as showing the whole US map, because this is actually a bit more a bet on caught the eye with the Jack Sparrow, which might be a bit more niche, but still so this is something we did for Fight of America. It didn't work. But it's a good try, and if you have something that's very very relevant for your game, and you can do it fast, or I don't know, you can fake it fast, I think it's worth trying as well, because as Kevin explained, and I think as you guys understood through the presentation, the point is to hook a user and make him watch the video and then download the game by playing with his emotions and by playing with his um, desire to see, okay, and what's the gameplay is about after watching the ad. And the right one, I don't know if Jason is watching us. It's actually the guy who's been the LC here in the live streams. The game we tested a while ago had the amazing CPI on TikTok, and I mean it's hilarious. I think the intro, especially it also has the sound that on TikTok everybody watching videos with the sound, so you have this creepy sound of the girl going out of the TV and then actually continues into the gameplay, which is fully related. Again, the same thing as you saw. It has the intro has to be related to the gameplay afterwards. And here I think it's a perfect example because she's almost crawling at the same way on the real life video as the gameplay goes. Yeah, it's just love it. Yeah. That's it for me.
Alrighty, so there we go, guys. Hope that was interesting for you. Yeah, that last run, obviously, what is up, Jason? If you're here, inspired by the Ring film, which is super creepy, and yeah, that actually when the on TikTok with the sound on that one, just as she gets closer, and I think it says "run," and it's just like, oh my goodness. But the point you made, well, it was really connected to the actual game. It wasn't like super random, so it was a connection there. So I think that was really cool. Elbow, I'm going to get to your question in just a moment. So, if you've got any questions today, guys, do get them in. We are here for a little while longer, but overall, I think from between us, you should get into your brains now how important that first 5 seconds are. And I think the examples Oleg showed there are really there's whilst there was some advanced ones, there's some really quick wins there with the zooming out of the camera. So just zoom out or zoom out, zoom in, whichever way you want to look at it at the start of your game, and just try that as one of your creative to try and capture the attention and experiment with the camera angles. That is like a no-brainer to try, basically. I think overall as well, and I cut the video a little bit there on the Keiju run one. Wow, that was hard. Again, where it was more of a comical effect. And it was like a double whammy where you chose the thing and then you put the hat on and it was stupid. But I think overall, the more advanced ones, sure, that's more for scaling, but it's a good way of explaining how the process works. But yeah, the quick hitters. There's the camera. Forgive me, Oleg, I've forgotten. It's the camera angle. And what was the other one that was really effective that's easy to do? Like the 2D one, maybe.
Hmm?
Oh no, the zooming out from the end of the level as well. That's quite an
Yeah.
easy one to achieve, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some of the questions. I know Elbow asked. Elbow asked, "Is it okay we have such a cinematic only for CPI video, but exclude that from the game at test launch?"
Yeah, of course. I mean, in fact, for America, we don't have this. Imagine every state you would zoom out and see the whole map. Maybe it actually would look cool. I don't know, but we don't have it. If it's a game with shorter levels, if it's a runner, you clearly wouldn't travel with the camera from end of the level until beginning of the level all the time. So there is a big thing right now, even more. The difference that is actually on the creatives and in the real gameplay, I think it advances and advances. Like every publisher, they see how much actually money and potential scale for your game can a creative win bring. That every publisher and us as well invests a lot into actually doing the creatives. So you will see, I'm sure, more and more that the thing you actually see on the creatives is not present in the game or not fully present in the game or slightly modified. This is a new norm when you have climbing CPIs, you have high LTVs, and then the more you can win on videos and the more lower CPI you can get, the better for you. Yeah.
So to round that up, just because I want to be clear on that, is that a yes and no, but maybe sort of?
No, you can exclude it. Do what
Okay.
you think is better for user perspective. What
Okay,
you
there you go, Elbow. Nice. Yeah, so don't be afraid to do it. But I guess with my sort of black hat on, I would say just don't go OP on it. Um, Try it out, but obviously it's still going to come down to your game metrics. So don't go too wild with it, but definitely try. That's me being the boring police on you there. I think it's worth trying, but just yeah, it's all about your game still. What else is there? Frantic Thumbs, what is up? You missed the first part. We'll catch up later, no problem. Is it worth using sound now for CPI videos or just for the TikTok tests?
You, I wouldn't advise. I mean, I think you're better. You would better play with the camera for your first test rather than sorry, adding the sound, looking for a perfect sound for your game. I think we can do it later. For TikTok
Sure.
testing, it's mandatory. I think they ban videos without sounds.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good to know. I mean, the only thing I would add to that, and I'm not gonna, I'm trying not to juxtaposition too much with Oleg here, but I kind of think where we're heading in the overall market, you want to kind of start getting used to putting sounds in as default with your builds anyway.
But
So
usually, yeah, we would also ask you, when the game goes to soft launch, we would ask the game to have a sound system. So, because it simplifies a lot the mass creative testing we do. And actually, the organic sounds of your game are the best. But obviously, it's fine if you work on a big project. Maybe you even want to think about them from the beginning. But for Hypercasual, yeah, I think maybe some quick sounds.
yeah, I
It's
think I think you're right. Like an audio system within that you can easily manipulate is not a bad practice to sort of keep into your templates anyway. Elbow says today's presentation really sparked my mind with stuff to do with the first few seconds of the gameplay video instead of leaving it as a playing gameplay stretch. But there we go. Our work here is done, and that's why we wanted to do this today because it really gets you thinking in different ways. What we try and do here all the time is try and break you out and challenge your ideas right now, and especially if you haven't been getting some of the results that you'd like, I think it's worth mixing it up and just thinking outside. And I said this, I think, last week. I hate think outside the box. A horrible expression, but you get what I mean when I say it. But yeah, challenge yourself to do something different, especially the cameras here. Frantic says, do CPI videos get rejected for using trademark copyright characters like Jack Sparrow? That is a great question.
No, because it's spoofed. We don't use actually the actual Jack Sparrow. We do our own model. Yeah, he looks like a Jack Sparrow, but it's when it's spoofing, it's fun. I mean, it's fine. There is, especially on the videos. Honestly, on the videos, it's very, very rare that somebody is coming to you, and I mean, I think I never had it, and say, okay, you are using our trademark Jack Sparrow. In a game, a bit more difficult. In a game, you should be a bit more careful because here they can be pulled out of the stock if Jockey Dev writes to Apple. So on the video, yeah, don't copy exactly, but with some spoofing, maybe a different color of the bird, whatever, small changes, which makes it legally acceptable.
Yeah, I was just about to say I'm not entirely sure on the legals, but I know you're allowed. Like there is sort of, you do have creative license for a number of seconds or whatever for the videos. But as soon as you put
Mhm.
that character in the game, you've now sort of you're borderline on IP infringement. So yes and no, there's a grey area, but you should be all right. That's what Alex says. So if you get caught, then blame Oleg. Many of the things are what the pub would do for us later. Many of these things were what the publisher would do for us later once we have presented a nice game. So does it help if we implement this beforehand to proceed with other better things? So I think
It
he's
depends.
quoting. Go on.
I think everything 2D related, it's difficult for developers. It's not worth spending time on it. Everything which I showed was 3D, camera, zoom out, zoom in, traveling, or some or like animations, like in Prison Manager, which helps completely explain the gameplay and show the progression. Actually, show the thematic. This can make a difference whether your game goes to pre-publishing or gets published or not, because at this stage, if the reduction of CPI, that was made the difference for Get Them Drunk. With 45 cents, we wouldn't soft launch it. With 25, we did soft launch it.
Yeah, that's
So,
great. So yeah, I think it's more to do with how can you and don't forget the core of the topic today of the first 5 seconds and the intro. And
mhm.
that intro should entice people into your game. And remember, you got the audio and visual thing that you can tap into to get their attention, but there's also the storytelling elements and the emotions as well. So pull on any of those points that are already in your game, and this is why a lot of the time the fail videos work, right? Because they're kind of all combined in a kind of mishmash of different things, but how can you present a scenario really quickly as well in that first 5 seconds to get them to understand exactly what's happening? If our game is inspired by a TikTok trend, is it okay to use a portion of an existing TikTok clip in our CPI video?
Yeah, yeah, it's fine.
There you go.
We Yeah, I mean, usually it would have lower CPIs through. The only thing is that maybe it would be difficult to iterate on it. That if you just have one video that works and it's only cut with real life and then gameplay. But honestly, I saw it so many times.
Yeah, to be honest, and I hate to be, I feel like I'm being slightly spicy. With I don't mean to be today, but I would still recommend like what is it that you learn from that in terms of why your game is getting attention. So you need to make sure that you understand why the video is getting attention as much as it is to doing it, if that makes sense. If you're leapfrogging on something else, you're better to replicate the emotion and the feeling you're getting from that video and put that in your game. Andy says, inspired by Frantic's question, I know some violence is accepted in the videos, for example, shooting and whatnot. Would a video, for example, like Kick Buddy, but on humans be rejected? Okay.
It's a very thin line. I mean, we published the game Human Tested earlier, which was a bit like testing robots being distracted, and some of the videos were banned as well because of too much violence. I think it's social networks that struggle the most with it. That Facebook, Snapchat, and TikTok. But if you actually do kick the body on humans, you have very high chances, yeah. But even a kick the body, if you look at it, it's actually not that violent. I mean, it's violent, but there is no blood. It's not getting
No.
completely burned. He's getting frozen and then he's getting burned, I think, and majority of all drowned in the water. But doesn't look too violent, if I had kids, I don't know if I was afraid if they saw something like that, because it's they're playing on a
Yeah.
very thin line, just at the point to not make it very violent. But I think
Yeah.
with humans, it would be too much. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Ola, I didn't mean to interrupt you like that. But I was kind of agreeing with you, and I couldn't shut up. It's more to do. It is kind of on the line, that one. And I think it was what you mentioned about if the kids, it's a little bit, but it is really cartoony. It
Mhm.
is really sort of doll like and stuff. So I think you want to err on the side of caution. But on that one, is it still the case with like you don't want to put blood in the videos?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, on Facebook it's difficult. You have to do green blood. You can't pull red blood.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
that's a good one
very
to know about your violence. Don't put blood on there. Um, okay, if we
fine on
include
test.
the
Sorry, it's fine on test, but as soon as if we get the game published and we reach some decent spend, and somebody from the Facebook team sees it, then it's going to be banned. Yeah.
okay,
But
so
when
you
you
can kind of get away with it, but as soon as you start to scale, you got to get rid of it.
all these videos, they are reviewed by AI at the first stage. When it goes to the first session, but if the game gets scaled, then we spend like 20K a day on Facebook, but the team sees it
Someone's
through.
looking at that. Yeah, got it. All right. Okay. Da, 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 da. If we include the original trend video, then we can quickly draw in early adopters who are interested in the original trend. Now, that's Selbo talking about the TikTok video. I think there's probably an element to that, Elbow, potentially. Um, Frantic says, with CPI being so high, is it because people have seen almost everything already, so it's harder to stand out? Or is it purely because there's so many ads testing that are driving up the CPI cost? That's a good question again.
If when you say purely so many ads testing, that what you would see is actually very high CPMs on your games. You know, the effective cost per million per thousand of impression. That would mean that CPI goes down. But actually, CPMs they're not going down that much. So the room for, I mean, they go down, they go up in December when there is a Christmas holidays and there are a lot of advertisement putting big budgets and campaigns on the market. Then your ECPM is going down or going up, sorry, and your CPI is going up because of the ECPMs. And then I'm sure guys you heard many times, yeah, December is the worst month for testing because of that. In the other times, there is no effect like that. So I reject your second hypothesis for normal times. And then, yeah, it's a combination. It's combination. Yeah, there are so many things being tested. You know, people taste it also shift. They don't want to play more voodoo type hyper casual games. You know, with just two stick minutes and some core gameplay.
Different is better than good. Remember, different is better than good. It's always something new and fresh is always gonna perform like, oh, what's that thing? I haven't seen one of them before. Rather than another runner that's like dodging a twirling like saw blade or something, right? Is it okay to add reaction gifs in our videos? Like the end of a win lose situation. Can we add emojis at the end of the videos?
But reaction gives, if is it with the real? I mean, usually if it's something that helps to make the video more juicy, more interesting to watch, why not? But I don't see big impact coming out of that. You know, as we just were discussing with Kevin, you know, it's really the first seconds which make the whole difference. The hook, the way you hook the player, and then if there is an like second 20, there is a reaction gif. It's not. I mean, how many people are gonna reach there? Firstly, and then how many is going to be the point at which they are because of this reaction gif I'm going to download the game. I would definitely advise you to more focus on the first
Yeah. So remember, key takeaways: concentrate on the most sort of impact you can have on those first 5 seconds. Look at what we've spoken today. Go and rewatch the video and see some inspiration. Go with the camera. Think how you can just mix it up a bit. Don't, please, 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 just don't record your gameplay and that'll do. And then you test your game because you need to be thinking about this. I mean, what's really interesting, you know, if you saw the first part when I mentioned the YouTube when they introduced the skip button, that actually changed the entire movie industry, the way they did their movie trailers. It literally, they had to reinvent their format because if you remember years, it used to be a long time ago. I can't do the voice, right? And it used to go on for ages and and now it's like bosh, 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 bosh. And that's kind of because they realised that in that first 5 seconds, people didn't care. And that's really, you know, you got to get in there and hit them hard and make them stop them in their tracks or in their feed, as it were. Um, Sarah said, I think it's a good one to end up on today, Oleg. As a pose of a bit of a question for you, try and tax your brain on the end of a long week. Um, some advice for a match three ad creative, and not the dumbing down one like Royal Match has done with Paul the Pin or anything. Have we got anything new that we can add? What would you do for a typical match three ad creative?
but in most of the cases you don't put much 3 on the videos because you know it's going to have super high CPI, so you're trying to find tricks around it, and you're trying to see, you know, usually your match 3 game would need to have a theme, and then you try, you know, to fake, you know, to do the storytelling by like project makeover. It's a match 3 game, but there is a girl who is getting, you know, her hair done, her nails done, everything. This is the theme which is very marketable, the female stuff, and the theme of the game is also about that. And you know, I don't know if you remember the game from Voodoo. I forget the name, but they tried to actually merge the match 3 part with the simulation part, and then on the videos they were advertising the game through simulation parts, through like building the house with the bricks, and then actually in the game they had the match 3 game. Forget the name of the game, but
I completely don't remember that one. That's totally escaped me. I can't picture it. But
but,
yeah, I think um, just to cut across real quick, and I'll let you go back on. But yeah, I think when you're looking about the match three, as Oleg said, it's a lot more now. It's more to do with the mini games inside, sort of thing, and the meta around the actual. The match three is almost, whilst it's the core game, it's almost not as important as the story or the theme around what you're building it. We see from most of the
Yeah,
ones.
the match three itself, to high CPIs, would be impossible to sell your game with the match three creatives. It's like it's one of the highest CPIs about Candy Crush, guys. After Candy Crush, how do you want
Yeah, look at
to?
Candy Crush. They just nicked blooming Attack Hole's advert, didn't they? Right? So that's how they done it. They stole Attack Hole. Plantopia. That definitely rings a bell. I thought Plantopia was like the Good Job Games one. Or maybe I don't know. I'm probably chatting rubbish now, but yeah, think about the sort of the storytelling for the match free and what is the sort of lean into the theme, I think would be the best one. That's all I've got, and I think Oleg answered that pretty well. Okay, right, guys, we're going to go and wrap that up. I hope that was helpful again today. Thanks, Oleg, so much for that. It's really great to see these examples and a few real life CPI numbers on them. And I think, yeah, we just really want to hit home like, just take your time on these CPI videos and try and get the biggest impact early on to stop people in their feeds. And these are your shop windows to the driving downloads. And you want to be showing off your prototype to the very best it can be. So I would say spend as long as you can on these without going too crazy. What would be your parting piece of advice today, Oleg?
Same as yours, honestly, I guess. Think about creatives beforehand. Think how you can experiment, because majority of this get lucky intro with the main line on the bed. It was experiment, it was actually not even my idea. It was developer idea. I was like, ah, yeah, cool, yeah, of course. Let's show the goal. And I'm not sure if I saw something like that before. And that's how the great stuff is born, I think, in experiments and in innovations, not only on gameplay but even on the videos.
Cool. All right. Okay, thanks, Oleg. I really appreciate your time as always. Always great to see you. Everybody, leave a like on your way out today to say thanks for Oleg for taking his time and sharing all his knowledge with us. We will be back next week where we've got some creative dev stuff with Ivan lined up, so that should be pretty cool. Don't forget to come and join us over on the Discord as well. Chat with me throughout the week. I put a few bits and bobs in there today. Got a brand new survey as well. If you want to do us a favour, take you 3 minutes. Tell us what's going on in your world. That would be super helpful. But with all that said and done, that is going to go and wrap it up for me and for Oleg. So thanks a lot, everybody. We will see you next time.
Okay,
Ta-da.
see you
Bye-bye.
next